So I know as a classroom teacher, you're not supposed to have favorites. But sometimes students leave a little more permanent mark on your heart. And Michael is one of those. But Michael was a bit of a discipline problem. In his grade level classes, he got in trouble for disrupting class, for being off task, and for challenging his teacher. Michael's parents regularly had meetings with his teachers, and Michael got regularly lectured. Now, I also had Michael as a student, but not because I was his grade level teacher, but because Michael was accelerated in mathematics. And I also put Michael on our mathematics competition team. Now, there's something you should know. I'm really good at mathematics. And so I would often work alongside my students when they were doing problems to prepare for competition. And one afternoon, we were working on a particularly difficult problem, and Michael finished before me. Now, this was a big deal, and he recognized that it was a big deal. His eyes got really big, and he marks this as a turning point. In fact, his parents told me that he was hooked. They would have to go into his room at night after he went to sleep to make sure that he had actually gone to sleep, because he would be under the covers with a flashlight doing math problems. So all of this hard work paid off for Michael. We went to the state competition, and Michael did well. And not just a little bit well, he did exceptionally well. He did well enough that he got a scholarship as a middle school student to that other Texas university up the road. So as a classroom teacher, I was amazed at what my students were able to do when they were given access to more advanced curriculum. As a researcher, I'm starting to see just how many students can benefit from that advanced curriculum. We're starting to see, and we're uncovering, that somewhere between 10 and 35% of students are sitting in classrooms where they have already demonstrated that they know the material. The great state of Texas spends about $50 billion a year educating our students. That's about $9,000 a kid. What kind of return of investment are we getting if up to 35% of our students have already learned the material that they're going to be presented that year? Now, if we look at how these high-achieving students are doing in a regular classroom, we see that they're growing a little bit during the school year, but then they keep growing at that same rate over the summer. There's no difference between their growth rate in the school year and the summer. Yeah, I can hear it. That's a problem. So, how do we identify these students who would benefit from this advanced curriculum? The traditional ways would say, let's assess everybody and we'll find the ones who are at the top in the entire United States. But what we're seeing is that's not a good way to find the kids who need access to that curriculum, because every school has its own distribution of achievement, and every school has above average kids. And it's those above average kids who are unlikely to benefit from the standard curriculum in the classroom. Every kid deserves a curriculum that is relevant, rigorous, and challenging. And for Michael, that meant that he needed to be accelerated. He wasn't a discipline problem in my classroom, and he socialized just fine with the peers. But he wasn't in my classroom because of his age, but because of his academic need. So let's say we've got a kid who has a really big foot for his age. We wouldn't try to put that kid in a shoe that's the most common shoe size for the other kids his age. No, we would go and we would get a shoe that fits the kid's shoe size, And in fact, we would likely put that kid in a half size larger so he has some growing room. If we wouldn't expect 1 or 2 shoe sizes to fit every kid of a given age, why would we expect 1 or even 2 sizes of education to work for every kid of a given age? Every kid deserves to have access to curriculum that is challenging, and that might mean acceleration. But we do know one thing. In education, one size does not fit all.